The breaking point, the morning started like any other on Earth, until every screen went black. Television broadcasts cut to static. Smartphones froze mid-conversation. Digital billboards flickered and died. Even the emergency broadcast systems fell silent. Then, without warning, every device capable of displaying an image lit up with the same horrifying scene. 3 humans stood on a metal platform, their hands bound behind their backs. Dr. Sarah Chen, the quantum physicist who had revolutionized faster-than-light communication. Commander Marcus Rivera, the former Space Force officer who had led the first successful human colony ship. Dr. Amara Oak, the xenobiologist whose research had helped humanity adapt to alien worlds. All 3 wore the simple grey uniforms of prisoners, their faces bruised but defiant. Around them towered the Zarian executioners. These alien overlords stood nearly 9 feet tall, their scaled skin gleaming under harsh artificial lights. Their forearms moved with mechanical precision as they adjusted the quantum disintegration devices that would serve as humanity's first public execution in over 2 centuries. The Zarian spokesman stepped forward, his translator collar crackling to life. His voice echoed across every device on Earth and throughout the human colonies scattered across the galaxy. "Citizens of the lesser species," he began, his words dripping with contempt. "These criminals refused to surrender the quantum research that rightfully belongs to the Zarian Empire. They chose defiance over compliance. Let this serve as education for all humans who believe they possess rights in our galaxy." Dr. Chen raised her head, her voice clear despite her circumstances. "We are scientists, not weapons manufacturers. Our research belongs to all sentient life, not to conquerors." The Zarian spokesman laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Your species will learn its place." What happened next burned itself into the memory of every human alive. The disintegration fields activated. One by one, the 3 defenders of human knowledge simply ceased to exist, their atoms scattered into the void of space. The broadcast continued for exactly 60 seconds after the last execution, showing the empty platform where 3 brilliant minds had stood moments before. Then, silence. On Earth, mothers collapsed in grocery stores. Children stared at blank screens, not understanding why their parents were crying. In the colonies, entire settlements went quiet. The only sound, the hum of life support systems continuing their automated cycles. But in that silence, something else began to grow. In Snow Paulo, Dr. Elena Vasquez, former head of Earth's terraforming division, felt her hands shake as she turned off her communication device. She had worked with Dr. Chen for 15 years. They had shared research, dreams of a better future for humanity among the stars. Now Sarah was gone, murdered for refusing to let their work become a tool of oppression. Elena picked up her secure communicator and made the first call in Seoul. James Park had been in the middle of debugging the city's traffic management system when the broadcast interrupted his work. As Earth's most skilled cyber warfare specialist during the last corporate conflicts, he had seen violence before. But this was different. This was personal. Marcus Rivera had saved his sister's colony. Ship during the Kepler evacuation, the commander had stayed behind to ensure everyone else escaped. Nearly dying in the process, James began typing, his fingers flying across holographic keyboards as he accessed systems that officially didn't exist. In Lagos, Dr. Kwame Asante sat in his laboratory surrounded by samples from dozens of alien worlds. As Earth's leading expert in xenobiology, he had spent his career studying alien life forms, learning their weaknesses and strengths. Dr. Okafor had been his mentor, the woman who taught him that science should serve life, not destroy it. He began pulling files, researching everything he knew about Zerian physiology. Within 6 hours of the execution, these three had connected with each other through encrypted channels that bypassed all known surveillance networks. Within 12 hours, they had reached out to contacts across the globe and beyond. Within 24 hours, they had established what would become known as the Silent Rebellion. The network grew like wildfire, but it burned cold and quiet. No flags, no speeches, no public declarations. Just scientists, engineers, soldiers, teachers, students, and ordinary citizens who had decided that enough was enough. The Zerian Empire had made a critical error. They had assumed that executing 3 humans would terrify the rest into submission. Instead, they had given humanity something it had been lacking for decades: a common enemy and a unified purpose. Alina coordinated from her hidden command center. Beneath the University of Snow Polo, her engineering expertise became the backbone of the rebellion's infrastructure. She designed communication networks that looked like ordinary data traffic, weapons that resembled farming equipment, and transport systems that could move people and supplies without triggering any known sensors. James worked from a dozen different locations, never staying in one place for more than a few hours. His job was digital warfare on a scale never before attempted. He began mapping every Zerian system, looking for weaknesses, backdoors, and vulnerabilities. His goal was not just to attack their networks, but to understand them so completely that humanity could turn their own technology against them. Kwame established research stations in remote locations across 6 continents. His mission was perhaps the most crucial, developing weapons that would affect only Zarian physiology while leaving other species unharmed. His mentor had died for refusing to create tools of destruction. He would honor her memory by creating tools of liberation. The rebellion's first rule was simple: no innocent casualties. They would not become the monsters they were fighting against. Every action had to be precise, targeted, and designed to dismantle the Zarian Empire's power without harming the countless other species under their control. Their second rule was even simpler: make them pay for every human life they had taken. 3 months after the execution, the first strikes began. They were so subtle that the Zarian Empire initially dismissed them as system malfunctions. Supply ships arrived at their destinations with cargo holds full of food that had mysteriously spoiled during transport. Communication relays experienced random failures that lasted just long enough to disrupt important military operations. Administrative systems suffered data corruptions that took weeks to repair. The Zarian military leaders grew frustrated, but not yet concerned. Their empire spanned hundreds of star systems and controlled dozens of species. Random technical failures were annoying, but not threatening. They had no idea that each malfunction had been carefully orchestrated by humans, who had spent their entire lives studying the systems they were now dismantling. 6 months after the execution, Alina stood in her command center, looking at a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy that showed every confirmed Zerian installation. Red dots marked targets that had been successfully compromised. Blue dots showed operations in progress. Green dots indicated future objectives. Nearly 40% of the map was now red. "Status report," she said to her team. James's voice came through the secure channel from his current location in the Arctic. "Their communication networks are 70% compromised. They don't know it yet because I'm only introducing errors at random intervals. But I can shut down their entire command structure whenever we're ready. Kwame reported from his laboratory in the Amazon rainforest. Biological warfare packages are complete and deployed. Every Xerian installation with an air recycling system has been exposed. The agent is dormant for now, but it's designed to activate simultaneously across their entire empire. Alina nodded, feeling the weight of what they were about to do. They had spent months preparing for this moment, building a network that spanned the galaxy, developing weapons that could cripple the Xerian Empire without harming innocents. Now it was time to let their oppressors know that humanity was no longer the helpless species they had executed for entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, Alina said to her team scattered across the stars, it's time to show them what happens. When you murder human scientists, initiate the next phase. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology or their military might. It was their ability to work together, to sacrifice for each other, and to never forget those who had been taken from them. The Xerian Empire had executed 3 humans, expecting the rest to bow in fear. Instead, they had awakened something that would haunt them across every star system they controlled. The real war was about to begin. Asterisk. The Shadow War begins 9 months after the execution. Xerian High Command called an emergency session on their fortress world of Krex Prime. The massive obsidian spires that housed their military leadership buzzed with activity as reports flooded in from across the Empire Hinadalvek. The 4-armed Supreme Commander, who had personally ordered the human executions, studied the holographic displays with growing unease. Red warning indicators blinked across dozens of star systems. Supply lines disrupted. Communication networks failing. Colonial governors reporting mysterious illnesses among Xerian personnel. Explain this, he commanded, his scaled fist slamming against the war table. Admiral Kithros, his intelligence chief, manipulated the display to show detailed reports. The failures appear random, General. Our analysts believe we're experiencing a cascade of system failures due to aging infrastructure. Perhaps the Empire has expanded too quickly, random. Vextar's voice carried the dangerous edge that had terrified a dozen species into submission. 67 supply convoys contaminated with the same type of biological agent. 43 communication hubs failing with identical error codes. 112 administrative centers experiencing data corruption in the exact same file structures. You call this random? The room fell silent. Xerian military doctrine had no provisions for this type of warfare. They were conquerors, specialists in direct confrontation and overwhelming force. This invisible, surgical dismantling of their infrastructure was outside their experience. Meanwhile, on Earth, Alina Vasquez stood in the expanded command center that now occupied 3 levels beneath the university. The original small room had grown into a sophisticated operation coordinating resistance cells across 200 worlds. Her team had increased from 3 to nearly 10,000, each one a volunteer who had lost someone to Xerian brutality. James. Report, she said into her communication array. His voice came through crystal clear. Despite being transmitted from a hidden facility on Mars, their military networks are completely compromised. I've been watching their panic for weeks. They know something is wrong, but their own security protocols prevent them from sharing information effectively. I can shut down their entire fleet whenever you give the word, Kwame. The xenobiologist's response came from his mobile laboratory, currently hidden in the asteroid belt between Jupiter and Saturn. The biological agents have been active for 2 weeks now, only affecting Xerian physiology as designed. They're experiencing what humans would call a severe flu, but for their species, it's debilitating. 30% reduction in their military effectiveness across all fronts. Alina allowed herself a small smile. The rebellion had grown beyond anything she had imagined. They now had cells operating in every major Xerian facility, many staffed by members of other oppressed species who had learned of humanity's resistance through carefully leaked information. Phase 3 is ready for implementation, reported Dr. Lisa Jong, Elena's tactical coordinator. We have confirmation that all deep cover operatives are in position. The deep cover operatives were Elena's proudest achievement. Humans who had volunteered for surgical alteration, psychological conditioning, and years of preparation to infiltrate Xerian society at the highest levels. They looked like Xerians, thought like Xerians, and had earned positions of trust within the Empire's power structure. They had been waiting for this moment. Execute Phase 3, Elena commanded. Across the galaxy, dormant agents activated. In the Xarian homeworld's central banking system, financial records began experiencing random corruption that would effectively freeze their economy within days. On military production worlds, factory programming developed mysterious errors that caused weapons to malfunction during testing. In government centers, Administrative A began making scheduling errors that prevented crucial meetings from occurring. But the masterstroke was yet to come. On Krex Prime, General Vexstar was reviewing security reports when his chief aide, a trusted Xerian officer named Crixinel, who had served faithfully for 15 years, approached with urgent information. General Crixinel said, his forearms carrying data tablets. I've discovered something disturbing about these system failures. Vexstar looked up from his reports. Crixinel had an exemplary record, having coordinated dozens of successful conquests. If he said something was disturbing, it demanded attention. Speak. The patterns suggest coordinated sabotage, sir, but not from any species we've encountered before. The methods are too sophisticated, too subtle. It's as if someone has been studying our systems for decades, learning every weakness. Vexstar's eyes narrowed. You suspect the humans. It's possible, sir. We may have underestimated their capabilities. What Vexter didn't know was that Crexinel was actually Captain Maria Santos, a former Earth intelligence officer who had undergone 3 years of surgical and psychological modification to assume this identity. She had been feeding critical information to the Resistance while simultaneously guiding Xerian responses away from effective countermeasures. Recommend immediate investigation of all human colonies, she continued, playing her role perfectly. If they're organizing resistance, we need to crush it before it spreads. Vexstar nodded, agreed. Prepares strike fleets for deployment to human worlds. This was exactly what Alina had been waiting for. The Xerian military's predictable response would draw their forces away from their core systems, leaving their homeworld vulnerable for the final phase of humanity's plan. 2 weeks later, as Xerian fleets departed for human colonies, James initiated the digital warfare campaign that had taken him months to prepare. Across the Empire, communication networks went silent. Military computers began displaying messages in perfect Xerian script for Dr. Sarah Chen, Commander Marcus Rivera, and Dr. Amara Okafor. Humanity remembers. At the same time, Quaim's biological weapons entered their final phase. The dormant agents that had been spreading through Xerian air systems for months suddenly activated with devastating effect. Not lethal, but every Xerian in their major installations, became too ill to function effectively. The Empire's response fleets found themselves unable to coordinate. Their crews too sick to operate complex systems, their communication networks dark. But Elena, true masterstroke was still to come, on Krex Prime. General Vextar staggered into his command center, his body racked with the mysterious illness that had struck every Zarian in the facility. His aide, Crixinal, appeared unaffected, moving efficiently, to coordinate what remained of their defenses. "Sir," she said, helping him to his command chair, "I've been analyzing the attack patterns. I believe I know who's responsible." Vexter could barely speak, but managed to gesture for her to continue. "It's not just the humans, sir. It's something much more sophisticated. Someone has been infiltrating our empire for years, possibly decades. They know our systems better than we do." She activated the main display, showing a comprehensive analysis of the rebellion's capabilities. It was all true information, carefully compiled over months of observation. But what she didn't reveal was that she had helped design many of the systems being used against them. "Who?" Vextar gasped. Maria leaned forward, dropping her Zarian accent for the first time in years. "Captain Maria Santos, Earth Intelligence. I've been here for 4 years, General. Every major decision you've made, every strategic plan, every secret project, we've known about it all." Vextar's eyes widened in shock and fury, but his weakened body couldn't respond to his rage. "You see," Maria continued, "humanity doesn't fight the way you expected. We don't build massive fleets or declare wars with fanfare. We study, we plan, we infiltrate. We turn your own systems against you." She gestured to the displays, showing the Empire's crumbling infrastructure. "Every random failure has been precisely orchestrated. Your entire empire is infected with human-designed viruses, biological agents, and sleeper programs. We've been inside your systems so long that we know them better than you do." At that moment, every screen in the command center displayed the same message, broadcast simultaneously across the entire Zarian Empire. "This is humanity speaking. 9 months ago, you executed 3 of our people for refusing to give you weapons, technology. You thought this would make us submit. Instead, you gave us a reason to show you what we're really capable of. Your fleets are disabled. Your communication networks are under our control. Your supply lines are cut. Your personnel are incapacitated by biological agents designed specifically for your physiology. Your most trusted advisors have been our agents for years. Your empire is falling apart from within, and you didn't even know we were there. But we are not conquerors like you. We will not execute your leaders for entertainment. We will not enslave your people. We will not rule over you through fear. Here are our terms. Withdraw from all human colonies immediately. Release all political prisoners from species under your control. Dissolve the imperial government and establish independent worlds for all species in your former empire. Accept monitoring by a coalition of species to ensure compliance. You have 72 hours to respond. If you refuse, Phase 4 begins, and your homeworld's life support systems will be the next to experience our technical expertise. Asterisk. Humanity remembers our dead. We also remember our principles. Choose wisely." The broadcast ended, leaving the Zarian command center in stunned silence. General Vextar looked up at Maria with a mixture of rage and grudging respect. "You ... planned this entire war?" Maria shook her head. "No, General, you did. The moment you decided to execute 3 human scientists on live broadcast, you started a war you could never win. We just fought it the way humans fight, with our minds, our unity, and our absolute refusal to forget those who were taken from us. Across the galaxy, the Zarian Empire began to crumble, not through violence or conquest, but through the precise, coordinated effort of a species that had learned to turn intelligence into the most powerful weapon in the universe. The 3 scientists, who had died rather than surrender their principles, had been avenged. But more importantly, their sacrifice had awakened humanity to its true potential, not as conquerors, but as liberators, who would ensure that no species would ever again face extinction at the hands of tyrants. The galaxy watched as Earth made an example of the Zarian Empire, not through brutality, but through the unstoppable power of human ingenuity, determination, and justice. The age of Zarian dominance was over. The age of galactic freedom had begun. Asterisk.